It's time to make a video about the July 4th, 2016 annual Friends of the Library in Cascade used book sale. I go to this, my wife and I, my wife doesn't go every year, but we went together this year. And so I wanted to show the books that I got today at this book sale. Most of everything I got at the book sale are authors that I collect. First of all, I read today, which I didn't read much, but I read 1982 Jan Yin by Alasdair Gray. I read that today, introduced by Will Self. Will Self is one of my favorite British writers. He introduced Alasdair Gray. He says in here, Will Self, a great writer, perhaps the greatest living in Britain today. So I read that, and as far as my diary, July 2016, I ended on page 570. So tomorrow, if I'm still alive, July 5th, 2016, I'll be on page 571. So what did I get at the book sale? Well, as I mentioned, when I go to a book sale, I usually go first to biography. And I found this biography by Andrei Malraux by Curtis Cate, C-A-T-E. He was a very famous French art historian, writer. He fought against the fascists in the Spanish Civil War. He was in the French underground resistance movement in the Second World War. He was in the government under the French de Gaulle. And I was really pleased to find this biography of his life. I have these novels by him, Andrew Malraux, The Conquerors, his book, The Man's Fate, Andrei Malraux, The Royal Way, and I have his novel, The Man's Hope. I'm always looking for his writings, and I was really pleased to find a biography of his life. I always like reading the biographies of the writers that I have their novels in our library. So I found those. I also found the biography of Paul Scott, who wrote the Rajay Quartet. This is the biography I found. Paul Scott, the life of the author of the Rajay Quartet by Hilary Sperling. So I found that, so I can put these together downstairs. I didn't really find any other. I did find two memoirs by who was a writer during the this is E.F. Benson. He was a British writer. He lived from 1867 to 1940. He wrote over 100 books. These are his memoirs, the final edition he wrote towards the end of his life. And then he wrote here about his family, As We Were, a Victorian Peep Show by E.F. Benson. I have already Benson's Doo-Doo and an Omnibus. I have that by him. And I also have his famous novels, Make Way for Lucia. This is the complete Lucia, including, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those Lucia novels. So now I can put these with E.F. Benson. Uh, I found a hardback edition of The Black Veil, which is a memoir with digressions by Rick Moody. I have this in paperback. I read it a year or a couple years ago. Rick Moody is one of my favorite American writers. I found another novel by Sebastian Faulks, The Human Traces. He's very famous for his novel, The Bird Song. I found a Philip Roth novel, Operation Sherlock, A Confession. Philip Roth is one of my favorite American writers. I had this already, but I didn't know it. I collect books on major cities of the world, and I found this book on Bombay, India, Maximum City, Bombay, Lost and Found by Shukudu Mekita. I don't know. Looks really interesting. It was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. It looks really, I just look really interesting. I like reading about India. I like writers from India. So I found that. And I found a David Foster Wallace I didn't have. This is Brief Interviews with Heinous Men, Stories. I didn't have this in my David Foster Wallace collection. I found another book by the poet, and this is the poet Donald Hall, The Ideal Bakery. These are stories by him. I found a novel by Graham Greene, Istanbul Train. I found Numbers in the Dark and Other Stories by Tino Calvino. I found this, it's what this book is. It's called One Day of a Year, 1960 to 2000 by Kristista Wolf. She was a Russian writer. And it's basically one day out of every year from 1960 to 2000, she wrote down everything, what she saw, what was on her mind about what was going on in her life. She did that one day every year from 1960 to 2000. So it looks really interesting. Because that's what I do every day. I write every single day about my life. I've been doing that since I was 18 years old, every day writing down my day-to-day life. I found 3 novels by Colette. The other one by Colette, Missou and Music Hall Sidelights. These are 2 novels by Colette. And these are 2 novels by Colette, The Mother's House and Sidhu. I already have Colette's Colleen novels, and I have her collected stories by Colette. And I just picked up this I showed you the other day, a biography, volume 1 of Colette. So I can add these to my Colette collection. And then I found this book of short stories I've been looking for by Lori Moore, Birds of America. I'm always looking for her short stories and her novels. This is Lori Moore's Birds of America stories. And I found 2 books by Rick Bass, who I really enjoy. These are his winter notes from Montana. And I didn't have a novel by Rick Bass. I knew he wrote novels, but I found one of his novels by Rick Bass, Where the Sea Used to Be. So yeah, it says here, the first full-length novel by one of our finest fiction writers, Where the Sea Used to Be, tells the story of a struggle between a father and his daughter for the souls of 2 men, Matthew and Wallace, his protégés, her lovers, Old Dooley is a Texan whose religion is oil. In his 50 years of searching for it in the Swan Valley, he has destroyed a dozen geologists. Matthew is Dooley's most recent victim, but Wallace begins to uncover the dark mystery of Dooley's life. Each character, the wildlife, and the land itself are rendered with the vivid poetry that is a hallmark of Rick Bass writing. Yeah, most of the books I have by Rick Bass is considered nature writing or writing about the West, Montana. Really a great writer, Rick Bass. I found a book by George Sanders, Pastoria, Stories and Novella. I found a Negatov I didn't have, Pin. I found this Chris Hedges, one of my favorite social commentaries. This is War as a Force That Gives Us Meaning. This was a finalist, the National Book Critics Circle Award for Nonfiction. Chris Hedges, I really like Chris Hedges, his social commentary. He's really worth reading. And I was really pleased to find Gore Vidal's United States Essays from 1952 to 1992. I've been really wanting this, and because I really like his essays, and I collect all his writings. He's one of America's most prominent intellectuals and writers, and of course he passed away. But I was pleased to find that. And I found this book from my Timothy Leary collection on the 60s. Timothy Leary, Outside Looking In, Appreciations, Castrations, and Reminiscence by Ram Dass, Andrew Will, Allen Ginsberg, Wyana Ryder, William Burroughs, Avery Hoffman, Aldous Huxley, Terence McKenna, Ken Kesey, Hugh Smith, Hunter S. Thompson, and others. So I was really pleased to find this from my Timothy Leary collection. And I found a book from my Paris, France collection, Paris, A Musical Kaleidoscope, 1870 to 1925, by Elaine Brody. So that's what I found at the used book sale. After the book sale, we went out for brunch with our oldest son Caleb and his wife Emily and their little daughter Josephine Joy, and we were home by 12:30. And so, like I said, I've been looking at the books that I got today, and now I can put them downstairs in the lower level. I got them in their stacks, the Colette stack, and I got the E.F. Benson stack. Oh, I forgot. I got a Raymond Carver book called If You Need Me, The Uncollected Fiction and Other Prose. Includes 5 newly discovered stories by Raymond Carver. I have this book already in our library by Raymond Carver, Where I'm Calling From Stories. And then I have this book called Carver Country, The World of Raymond Carver. This is a picture of him riding. This is him on the front cover. These are photos of Raymond Carver. He lived a tragic life. He died when he was 50. He battled with alcohol. But he's one of my favorite short story writers, and I was pleased to find another book of his. He wrote poetry also, which I have not found. So that's what I found at the used book sale, and this Friday there's another book sale here in town. I'll go there and look around. Maybe I'll find something. So I hope you had a good July 4th. Until next time, bye.